that time. We're prepping for power now. So we're getting our trench in for Pico. We got 1,000 amps over time back to the house, so we got a trench that runs continuous over to where our CT cabinet's mounted over there. And we've already got our conduits and our meter mounted and everything. So pretty straightforward install. We'll be out here on Wednesday. We got beautiful weather this week. Excavator's already got some screening material on site, so get this backfilled with screening, Pico requirements. Biggest thing with Pico wise is trying to get the cable guys out after. So we'll get our lines in, we'll put some more screening on top, and just making sure those cable guys are lined up to put their conduits in. So that's about it for now. It's a funky design actually. So we got our hip tails that are gonna come out. We left our block a little short just because we really didn't know exactly where the height of that was gonna land fully. So we can always fill in a little after. I missed them setting it. But basically the set just set down on top of the actual Z-beams. Got a separate little stair section here with our radiuses that all tie together. Radius up there, right? Can't wait to get all this underground work done. Got so much still. But this is a big deal. We got our Pico trench in. So they'll be here actually tomorrow. We'll get everything tied into that CT. And then next week actually on the other side, I just got my date from Pico for gas. So we got to run from over there behind the garage all the way to the other side of the house for our gas manifold. So I'm going to try and make sure we get all this backfilled before then. So we still have good parking on site because it is a little tight this week. Most of the guys are out on the street. So Pico gives us our specs for their depth of our trench. We have to add screening material. Then they'll actually run their lines right through here. We have to get a conduit just stubbed down here with an elbow. They'll sweep that up into our CT, do our connection to our CT cabinet. And then we already have our lines tying from the one side of the CTs into the house. I got all this locked right now, so. And then this will actually get stone, so you won't see those sections there. You will see this cabinet, but we have it hidden kind of behind this wall. So at least when you're over here, you can't see it, and then landscapers can kind of do their thing over here. So it's a lot better than having it on the front of the house, or we couldn't really put it on the side. It would look terrible too, so this was a nice spot to hide it. Framers are making progress. Now you can see these rafter tails here. They hang down. We've got the hip section that hangs down the front. It actually has a cool roof line where we've got our gable return. It kicks up to here, kind of comes across, kicks back down, and then it's a whole hip roof section as well. So there's definitely some funky framing details, a little bit of complexity, and then we got a little bit of a cathedral ceiling with some flat ceiling up here for our light fixture. But pretty cool details. The courtyard area is sweet, so with the porte-cochere here, we're actually going to have arch top stone openings, arch top doorway. We'll have our gas lanterns on the side. I mean, it's going to be sweet with the stone, the bronze window grates. This will get a bluestone material across here into the radius section. You'll have your lanterns hanging down from the top. Be some nice details. Let's got our utility crew here now. They are starting to get things tied in. So we got a splice box over in this corner because we actually have to go across a property line. So they do a connection point. So we just marked out our splice box location. A couple of things that are required. We need a conduit wherever a driveway crossing is. And then after, we got to get 12 inches of screening material on top of this trench, on top of this line. Then our cable crew will be out. We'll put their cable conduits in, and then fall behind that, we'll work on gate conduits. So they're gonna get this tied in. They're gonna connect to our sides of our CT over here. This is all of our ties that come into the house. So they got a 500 MC, and then we have 300 MC. And my electrician ran a couple conductors back to that panel. And all this wiring is for that meter. So here's our splice box. The only reason we're doing this is because we're on another property. cool angle view.
Yeah, I guess for us,
Are those all pre-greased?
yeah, there's grease inside of here, and then for the smaller wires.
Yeah, you guys got the grease.
Thing goes over them, and then grease these for the 500 needle. Don't forget this either.
Doing the tap. We're gonna tap the lines in the transformer. It's kind of funny, this pole's gonna come out later. At least we'll get live for a little bit. So we've got the last of our communication company out here. We've got Comcast already ran, Verizon ran, Briggs did their trawlings, which we're gonna actually GPS everything. So now my electrician is prepping conduits for our gates. So we'll end up getting this cable line in, some more backfill, get our gate conduits in as well. Tie back to the house, which the excavator is doing that right now for us. So we've got our gate lines stubbing up at this point behind our wall structure. The run continues back over to the bowling alley equipment area. So right now we've got them ran over to this direction. So we'll end up getting things stubbed up. These are going to run continuous all the way out to our gates. A lot going on site yesterday. We got a good amount of stuff done. Prepping for the garage side. Got all of our storm systems here, so we got to stick with those elevations. All these orange conduits, like I mentioned, are cable. And then we got our splice box, which is our power. So we are live now. It's a nice morning out here. We have 12 inches of screening material down on top of our power lines, which has been bumped up. It used to be about 6, and now we're 12. And then we've got our cable plus our gate conduits, just entry in general, because we're going to have power for gates, we're going to have lights, we're going to have gas connection as well for gas lanterns. So, and actually one of these conduits is a spare. My one sub will be here today for the gas, which I'm going to use this 4-inch pipe here just to get across this little driveway section. We'll try to put in a duct crossing whenever we have a driveway connection. And then our regular gates here, they are our conduits for our gates. I have them chasing our wall, so that way we'll have ground boxes, 3 ground boxes hidden behind this wall area. We've got our pier that's kind of marked out here. Now originally we were going to have gates here, but that is being held off for now, so this will just be a traditional pier that gets built up with our wall. When we do gates, you'll see later, we do actually a steel column that comes up through that pier, and it has 2 metal brackets that get welded with our hinges that attach to that. Now in this area underground, we have a lot going on, but we've been using the GPS, pre-locating everything, thinking about it ahead of time. So for instance, we've got our well here. We knew our well had to go that way, so we made sure that footer was lower for when that had to be dug, and it crosses all the way out. We've got storm piping under here. It's actually pretty deep in this area. Over where this machine is, we've got geothermal wells underground. They kind of tie right into there. Our power obviously came out of that location, goes over there and continues. This whole area really had to think about ahead of time because we got, like I said, that storm piping down deeper. We've got our power that's coming out. We've got our geothermal. We did that a long time ago. The geo I always keep the lowest. So our geothermal, when it comes out, it's about 5 feet underground. It gets all teed all the way out underneath of here. It's already done. So we've got several conduit points of stub in here, back over there. Everything's live over here. So what I like to do for cable, I like to do a ground box, kind of where my CT is, and I run a separate conduit back into the house. There's a reason I do this, because I learned. So I'll put that ground box here. That way, if they're going to use two different providers, they can select which one. Then that line will run back into the house. Now, on a job a long time ago, a cable company was not sealing their conduits. We had water getting into a ground box from, it was actually on a project, 2,400 linear feet away from where our house connection was. And there was like a water issue on a whole nother property, and it was linking to each ground box all the way down to the property. So with this way, I can properly seal this conduit when it goes back into the house, so that way I don't have issues. And then if they do have to service anything, they're just doing their outside connections and they're not having to get into the house. Plus, these conduits here are very hard to seal in a foundation, because usually they got this tracer wire rib here, or they're different odd sizes, so it's a lot easier to use a traditional conduit to seal that stuff. So I already had all of our sleeves prepped in this area, but we are going to add some more. I'm actually adding, like I said, that extra spare there. We're going to have gas, which the gas you can't tie into the foundation. It has to go above grade, so that's going to be in that corner there. We've got our two that was originally planned for the gate. We had some spares, which now we're going to use some more spares and extra conduits that we're actually going to chase over to this garage area now. That was not on the original plan, but it's all right. We're going to get that cord in this foundation. Originally it was kind of perfect. We had two for the gate. We had our septic line, and then this one here was going to be for our cable connection. So we're just adding in some more. But this is going to come together really nice after this is done later. I don't know, they might be here Friday. Otherwise, next week when Masons will be back for that block wall. And then we're going to kind of keep trying to work our way up to the gates entrance and get some more walls in that tie all the way back that way, and the front entry. But so today's where the fun starts for access. Framers are making good progress. We've been trying to keep this open in the center, but they're working on the portico share. So on this side, we started getting things prepped. And this is where we've got our gas connection. So this is where we're going to start trenching for this today. We've got a scheduled install date of next week on Monday, so we got to prep it through the weekend. Now here we've got a lot going on too. We've got sewer lines that are below. We've got geo wells as well that come out. They're pretty deep though. We've got storm system under here as well. And all this stuff we pre-drew up above, I can drop. I'm not going to share the full plan, but I can kind of show you some of my highlighted utility plans. But we've got things marked out here, all the way up of where our gas trenching is going to be. We've been recording everything previously with GPS. So I have my Masons move stuff, which they were here for a while, but I've got a great station for them now over here. So these conduit stuff up, we've already ran in the past. So this is actually, we'll continue to another back gate in this location. We've got our generator section right over here. We've got our gas that's going to run continuous. We actually have a wall that's going to stub out and tie over to here, so we're going to make sure that's at the right elevation it needs to be. Our storm piping is over here, comes over this way. So this line here is going to run all the way up to the street, kind of behind that porta-john. We'll tie out to the street for where our utility company is going to connect. But then the important thing is, after this gas line's in, we actually have to dig over to here, because we're going to build a gas manifold against this wall section here that will work for our generator. We've got a little bit of gas that goes into here, plus we're going to have some more gas lanterns, so that's going to tie back over to there. So then over here we already have a manifold we built. So we've got our line coming into the house. We've got a 2-inch line. These two lines here, that one there is going to tie back to our generator area. Then this connection here, we're actually going to do another mini manifold back behind the pool house, because we've got a pool heater, we've got some other gas back there. And then basically this is our connection for our utility company. So they're going to bring a, it's basically, they call it a, can't think of the name, it's almost like a riser thing, like a riser bracket or something. So they're going to mount that to the wall. That will actually be for where our riser has to connect to, and then their meter can stay within that, and our regulator. So with these bigger houses, we always do 2-inch. It's pretty common for the gas. We already have our BTUs figured out. I think we're somewhere around 1.5 million BTUs. Majority of that BTU rating is for the generator. So usually I have to have a commercial style regulator from the actual utility company. Other than that, you can see everybody's been working around the back of the house, this whole side. Getting a lot of this wrapped up. So the clean painters are doing a good job. Siding contractor will be back here, and we still got more rough-in work back here. Got the BBQ area started out. Got conduits. We're not going to get all this backfilled yet because we still got more work we got to do back here. So we got another mason station back here. Just look at this wrapped up probably next week back here. And then the stone masons have been working their way around the back. They got a little bit back here to do, and then we've got our fireplace stubbed up through our roof line now. So we're going to work on step flashing details. Don't think we're getting into it today, but probably tomorrow. So we'll have to do our step flashing, and then the masons can continue the rest of the way up. Guys are going to get the road torn up today. It's going to be a mess out here. I'm sure the neighbors won't be happy, but
they can go either way with it.
that is a big Fernco style fitting. So this is for our 4-inch gas. So they got that inner sleeve part that goes in there. They've got our metal riser pipe. So we've got 4-inch out here because we have a low pressure on the street. So it seems overkill. Now if we had high pressure, this would be just a regular 2-inch gas line. And then we do have our own 2-inch gas lines for our generator. So we're going to circle back with our gas over to the garage area. This is all 4-inch fusion. So they got special tools that basically cut and melt it together. They've got a butt fusion joint right there. And then basically then we'll have our gas that ties over here for our generator area. Today we kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So we got the wall grout filled. We got sets of stairs all poured. So we got 3 back here. Another set on the front of the house. It's been busy on the back side, just trying to get all this work done back here. So this is a big step, getting this all poured, so that way we can get our backside waterproof. We can get our stone, we can get our drainage in, then we can start prepping for this patio area. I have a couple conduits up in here, but really not too bad. Once we get it down into this area, we've got a ton more underground between drains, conduits, and all sorts of things. So we're still working on some utility stuff. Pico will be back tomorrow for our gas. And then once we start prepping this patio area, we got a couple of rain leaders that actually stub out from our patio. We've got some drains back here, and then the excavators can start doing their thing. Can't see it now, but there's some step flashing we did up here, where we did our templates. We have our step templates, which the mason put the block in. They have everything stepped back 3 inches, so that way my roofer can actually start working on all those copper steps, and then we'll get everything installed, so that way the mason can continue up this roof line all the way up to this lead flashing point. We're still waiting on our cast stone. We've got our nice stairs here. So this all is basically 9 inches lower. Might seem a little weird, but that's because, actually I'll just show you. This stuff is 9 inches lower. This Sharpie mark there is my finished tread where it needs to be. So I allow for mud underneath. I do 3 inches, and then we have a 6-inch tread material. That way we can do a little bit of a pitch in all these. So it's a little bit easier for us to pour these level. They do add a little bit of a pitch to each concrete. But that way we have a little bit of pitch to each tread for water to shed off. And it gives the masons enough mud underneath for what they like. Now we got this section kind of teed up over here. This is set up now for our siding guy, which he's wrapping up another project. And he'll be over here. Hopefully next week some point, start working on siding. We don't have all of it ready. I'd say we got probably about 80% of the areas ready for him. But as he kind of progresses all the way around, everybody's working all the way around the back of this project. It'll work out for us, so that way he can hopefully just keep smooth sand all the way. So then we have our layout I did for barbecue. So I have everything marked out. got our pizza oven set up. We've got our log storage. We've got our sink. I had to tweak all of our little bit of distance in between to make everything nice and symmetrical. I like it a lot more now, where I've got 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. I've got the same even reveal here and here now. And then this section here is a little bit different. We've got a 4-inch block, and then it gets the stone. So it'll end up being 6 inches. So it's kind of nice symmetry. And we've got our pizza oven that will be in here. So next step is I have to mark out all of our utility points. So I already have our conduit stubbed up for some wall outlets up in here. But then I got to mark out all of our electric points that we need for appliances, and the same thing for gas as well. Basically, I'm going to have our mason build these piers up to the height they need to be. We have our 8-inch airspace all behind. And then after they do that, then I'm going to mark off where they have to build the bottom of this block up to. Because every height's a little different. That height's a different one. This one's a different one. That one's a different one. That one's a different one. This one's a different one. And this one's a different height. All per the appliance spec, because the very top of everything will have a straight line. But between doors, appliances, and things like that, they're all a little different. I've been working everybody around the house this way. So as access gets tighter on the back, it's just a smarter move for us to work everybody around. And kind of the detached garage was a little bit of a learning experience for everyone, where they just basically honed in all the details over there first. By the time they got to the main house, it was just normal. And tomorrow, like I mentioned, gas will be back, the gas crew. So we got all this screened. My excavator ran out of some material. They were not on site today, but they will be back tomorrow to get all this driveway open back up. Luckily, we got 2 driveways. Talk about it much, but underneath it here, there was a wire that went to this like bag-looking thing that looked like almost a baby that was wrapped up. And that is an antidote. So that antidote would basically rot out before the connection point in this metal pipe. It's kind of like a boat, basically. And then we've got our generator gas, we've got our pool house gas, and then, not happy about this, but Pico basically changed a couple little things over here on us for a very large meter. So most likely gonna move that hose bib now, which it's just how it goes. This is a big meter that never worked with before. It's a commercial style meter, so just have to tweak our design a little bit. Framer's about wrapped up on this, so I have to have them do some stuff on the inside, and they can kind of circle back on trim later for here. But they got all that wrapped up.
Let me put bolts in.
So we got fusion parts here for the gas. So this is his cutter, or his frame actually. He's got the cutter unit that actually cuts everything. This is some acrylic hues, makes it sort of nice and square. And then he's got his heat iron there, just like our geopiping. But this is a butt fuse. So like here we got our gas shut off, and it's all butt fuse sections. How long does it take to heat this one up?
1:30.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
So we got our curve key location. They got our locators, the yellow ball. They basically got like an antifreeze in there with a little locating magnet. It looks like they got pressure onto their tap right now. So we've got a 6-inch gas main out here, and there'll be a 4-inch tying in. So it sounds like they're gonna be back to then connect this and then get everything backfilled. That's the process. Back at our utility location. Working on the last bit of utilities, which we're removing some existing aerial lines and doing underground. So got us approved to remove these. We've got our trench, we've got our buoy marker there basically, so that way they have their conduit they'll tie into. And then we got to do a new meter set up on the wall. So I get the radius wall started. So my landscape architect, Chuck, he says this too. Learned years ago to make sure we waterproof the back of all the retaining walls. Put fabric, stone, drains, so that way we got no issues with it for lessons. We just got our platform out, really opened up this space. Got our light fixture mock-up. We're getting all the materials done now. We get our safety rail back up. This is a very cool space. Got a steel bridge across, or stairs that are floating off of that as well. So we've got like an 8-inch space here, about 5 inches on the other side after finish. Foggy morning. It's pretty cool. Barely see the porta fish air. Very close. We actually have a rough-in inspection scheduled on Friday out here. So already done most of our framing because we spray foam the roof. So I'll just be double checking a couple things for framing. Biggest thing is fire stop. So already had the guys out here for 3 days, fire stopping locations. Never know, there's always something that gets missed. There's a couple little last minute things getting done, so I have extra cans on site for the crews. But we will double check before our inspections. And we'll get everything all vacuumed out and cleaned. We're basically 2 weeks away from insulation start. I'll actually start over on the other side first, and they'll be over on this side in 3 weeks. So it gives us a little bit of a fluff factor. We're finally going to be getting cast down. So it's been holding up some of the roof, but getting some of these rain leaders marked out. This area here, I got it centered on my column point. I'm lasering down. I'm painting, and then I'm actually putting a tap con in at finished grade. So that way, because our grade changes a little bit around the house, so I want to get things marked out so that way the excavator gets it right. I do the tap con so that way I can get it exactly perfect with the laser. And then you can't really mark, like if I paint this and mark it, it could get still messed up. So if they don't get it right here, at least I'm gonna know. For our rain layer piping, we already put it in our patio. So it was kind of the same situation there with getting things lasered. And we're gonna have our just PVC underground, but then once it gets above ground, it's gonna be copper. I have a copper clean out at the bottom, which we don't really have much trees around here, but the copper clean outs when landscape does grow, at least will help prevent any clogging. Same thing here, I got the laser set up, finding where the center of that column point is. My guys will make sure they get it in the right spot as well. We've already been looking at for brackets where our downspouts were, and then I'll do the math. So I already have my grade here, so I'll see what that is to get things marked down here for this. Marking more, trying to make these things dummy proof. So here you can even see, I can actually get my tape measure on here, see 14 and 1/8 of an inch. Get this thing right at 7/16. My tripod. And then that way I can get this marked down for my plumb point, and then I'll shoot this horizontal over to I have the elevation of what my floor is in here, so that way I just subtract and get the math all set up for that point. A lot of progress past like 3 weeks. We gotta get a lot of stuff cleaned up on the outside here, so that way I get some rain leaders in and get things ready for a driveway. We've got some more concrete we gotta put in as well, so good amount of progress on this side. The siding guys running a little bit behind, but he'll be here. That's it for now.